Guys, thank you for joining me on this virtual tour. We're pretty lucky enough today to have both competitors directly next to each other, side by side. We have the all-new BMW 7 Series and of course the 2019 Audi A8 literally right next to it. Now, the reason or the purpose for this video is just to basically once again equip your sales staff with some key information about both vehicles. Both these cars, of course, are competing directly with each other, as well as the Mercedes S-Class just there in the back. But these are the two cars that we're going to concentrate on today, just to try and give you the differences between the two. Not really choose which one you should go for or which one is better, but really just to differentiate and distinguish what is actually similar between the two cars, as well as, again, like I said, the key differences. So let's start by looking at the BMW 7 Series, and then we'll move on to the Audi, and we'll do that in a step-by-step sort of way. So the most obvious change for the BMW 7 Series happens to be the front end. Now, you cannot ignore the enormous size of the kidney grille design, that has actually gone onto this particular vehicle. Now, this is, of course, to try and keep it in line with the flagship BMW X7. And personally, I do like the look of it, although it does seem quite big. It does represent a serious amount of aggression. And of course, being one of the flagship models of the brand, it certainly represents a certain level up in the hierarchy. With that, you still get the BMW LED technology, slightly redesigned headlamp clusters, and you can get the optional laser lights which are adaptive as well to go with it, should you choose that, of course, as an option. Below that, of course, I really do like these new sills and this new bumper, and the use of chrome across the edge all the way to the end of the vehicle does seem to fit really, really nice with this updated design. In the rear, almost the same in terms of changes, in terms of updates. Of course, it's still quite uniform. So you've got redesigned lamps coming across here, and of course, at the rear bumper, although these are fake, there is an actual pipe inside there, and of course, it sits really flush, and it does actually complete the design of the vehicle really, really well. It's quite similar in the way all three competitors are designed at the moment, but they do have the differences. Let's move over to the Audi and have a look to see what's going on there. So now that we're in front of the Audi, again, this video is not to really give you a preference. It's more a case of just showing you the differences, but in terms of the technologies, it's quite similar. So you do have quite a big grille again, which is very much signature Audi. You can definitely see that it is an A8, judging by the size of all of that. And again, LED technology from the headlamp cluster, plus the matrix LEDs, the matrix headlamp system which Audi use to, of course, improve the illumination that you get from the headlamps themselves. You do also, just like the 7 Series, quite a lot of chrome, a lot of detailing around the bumper, and towards the back, purely based on opinion rather than fact, but this is where I prefer the Audi in terms of angles and in terms of design and looks. I really, really do like the back end of this particular vehicle, and I really do like how the vehicle looks and how everything fits so well with the actual exterior itself. In terms of the clusters that strip across the back end, and of course down here, again very similar to the BMW and that of the Mercedes. It seems like the design language is all very, very uniform. It's keeping in line with everything that's pretty much in competition with, and that's for, of course, markets outside the UAE also. Bearing in mind that the design language of the BMW, the Mercedes and the Audi right now is dictated a lot by the Chinese market, and because of this type of influence that's coming from that side of the world, the design of these vehicles seem to be very similar, simply because this is what sells. We have my favorite part of any type of vehicle, which is of course performance and efficiency as well, but let's talk about the engines or the availability of engines for the current Audi A8. Now, of course, this particular model, being the 55 TFSI, has a V6 petrol with a supercharger, which is good for 340 brake horsepower. You also can get the 50 TFSI as well as models above, which means that the vehicle is still available in 6 and 8 cylinder models, and of course a 12 cylinder as well to complete the range. Okay, so just like the Audi, of course, you do have a range of units of power or engines for the 7 Series BMW as well. Now, this particular model does use the 4-cylinder twin-power turbo unit, which is good for 258 brake horsepower and is actually ample for this type of vehicle, even though it's quite a large car. At the same time, You can still get it in a 6-cylinder and an 8-cylinder model, as well as the V12, which is destined for the M760Li, which of course, as we all know, is an absolute powerhouse and can do 0 to 100 kilometers in less than 4 seconds. Okay, so with regards to both vehicles, let's just talk about some of the key features or similarities. Both vehicles will come with the adaptive air suspension as standard, and both vehicles do come with rear parking assist as standard as well. And both cars have the capability of being able to utilize or do these sort of maneuvers while you're not in the car itself. So with the BMW, you can actually use the smart key, whereas in the Audi, you can do so from a smartphone. And this can be done for perpendicular and parallel parking as well, by aid of the review cameras and the 360 system and the sensors, which both cars of course do have. In regards to drivetrain, BMW is available in rear and four-wheel drive, whereas with the Audi it's available in four-wheel drive only. Now the key difference between the two cars is that the Audi does have adaptive cruise control and steering assistance as standard, whereas with BMW it's still an option. Okay, so changes on the new 7 Series interior, although it does seem quite familiar in here and it's still beautifully built and really well put together and very robust. There's an improvement that has taken place on the digital driver display just in front of me right here. You've got a heads-up display, which of course gives you key information while you're on the go in terms of speed and direction of travel if your navigation is active at the time. The iDrive system of course is both touch, and you can actually operate the system from the conventional rotary unit, which is of course very in tune with BMW vehicles across the range, and it is still a very easy system to use. In fact, the infotainment system in the BMW is suggested to be the best of the 3 cars at the moment, but of course that's not to say that any of the other systems are terrible or bad. It's just that preference suggests that this one is still the one that seems to integrate really well with the users of the BMW 7 Series. In regards to the controls, of course, I do really like this area where you can actually use gesture control to increase the volume, turn it down, move away a telephone call if you wanted to do that, or cut a call if you wanted to, and then you can just touch for climate control settings and for heating and cooling. So that's all really nice, and it's feel-good factor, so to say. Okay, so this is where a lot of your 7 Series customers might be spending an ample amount of time, of course, in the back, in the rear. This is where the magic happens, so to say. Now this is quite a basic model, or quite a standard model, so you don't get the comfort seats for a start. There isn't sort of like an executive lounge package in this particular vehicle, but I do seem to have the rear entertainment screens, and of course being long wheelbase I have ample legroom, plus the controls for the blinds. So I still have some stuff to keep me happy and keep me content, so to say. Let's just have a quick discussion about the screens. So there are touch screens which give you access to driver information as well as satellite navigation and vehicle settings, if you have the options for the blinds, for the interior lighting, for the massage settings. And you can do the same with a control tablet which is situated around here. Now the tablet acts pretty much, it does the same functions as the touch screen. So some might say, well, what's the point of using the tablet when I can do the exact same thing on the screen itself? But it's a pretty nice tool to use if you're laid back and if you're in a comfortable position, and it does give you a lot of options and things to play around with if you like. Storage is very, of course, standard of what you'd expect, and again, depending on the options that you go for, you can really turn this into a very individual experience to enhance your journey effectively. Quick mention about the sound system. It's Harman Kardon standard, but you can also get a Bowers & Wilkins system if you go for an executive. So now we're in the Audi. It's just as comfortable as the BMW, but of course there is a difference in design language. The Audi does seem a bit more uniform, possibly a bit more conventional, but it is very plush, and the build quality is second to none. It is, I have to say, it's absolutely brilliant. It's a good system, but there is the possibility that the rotor that's missing from this particular model might have been slightly easier to use when especially you're on the go, for example. But saying that, when you look at the digital display, that again is really it's a class above everything else, and it is very clear, very crystal, very concise, and the menu or the options that you can actually have in front of you again does make it feel pretty special, I would say. In terms of seating and driver comforts, pretty much as you would expect the vehicle to have and similar to that of the BMW and the Mercedes, you'll have heating and cooling in here. You'll have a massage seat option should you choose to have it, and wireless charging, of course, again as an option. But one thing I wanted to mention, wireless charging in the vehicle across me, the 7 Series, is actually standard in the front end. Bit of a mismatch when it comes to the packages or rear seat packages between the two cars. For example, the 7 Series has the one with the rear entertainment, whereas the Audi doesn't have any rear entertainment at all. But it does have the tablet that I mentioned, which is available also for the BMW. Now this tablet does of course give you access to things like the lighting, the blinds, the radio, the entertainment, any media, and of course vehicle information as well. And both vehicles are quite similar in that respect. In fact, you can spec the Audi in such a way not too dissimilar from that of the 7 Series, which allows you to have, of course, interior comfort access, an executive seating package, a lounge package to of course really make this like a first class cabin if you like. So it's all available. It just depends on how you want things to be for your journey. In terms of boot space on the Audi, it's roughly around 500 litres. It's a good sized boot, of course. And on the long wheelbase vehicles or long wheelbase versions, maybe boot space itself is slightly compromised to make way for rear legroom. However, it's not too dissimilar from that in the 7 Series. Very similar in terms of load access or the shape of it. In terms of boot space itself, it's again also about 500 litres. It's slightly, ever so slightly bigger than that in the Audi, but again, there's not much of a difference in it at all. Now, while we're talking about the rear of these vehicles, the 7 Series does actually have quite a good party piece in terms of the reverse assistant. So if you're in a car park, and if it's a tight space and you're doing a certain type of maneuver, if you need to backtrack, the vehicle will actually make a memory of that for you and do that in reverse. In terms of safety, for both vehicles, again, you can expect the latest in technologies for emergency braking assist, collision assistance. You've got some really good features on the Audi, which of course aid in regards to side collision or anything that's coming to you from the side, because Audi do recognize that the doors are the weakest point of the vehicle, which I'll explain at some other time. In terms of autonomous usage, of course, as I mentioned earlier, there's adaptive cruise control with braking assist and steering assistance as well. In the Audi, you don't need to use the steering wheel at all for speeds less than 40 miles an hour, as long as it's legal to do so in any particular country of use. Last thing I wanted to mention, of course, is that both vehicles are available with rear-wheel steering to aid in not just handling and stability at high speed, but in terms of also trying and making things as easy as possible to maneuver these big cars in tight situations. So in tight situations, in slow-moving situations, the rear wheels will actually move towards the opposite side as compared to which way you're turning the front wheels, just to try and get things around the corner in a lot more easier and more sort of dignified way. Whereas at high speed, the wheels will move in line with the same direction as the front wheels to again try and make cornering a lot more dynamic. And this is the case for both cars. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the general comparison between the two vehicles. If you would like any specific information or any demonstrations about the infotainment systems or the autonomous stuff or anything technical, then please do let me know. Or if you'd like me to present anything that may help you place this vehicle in the right way, developing your sales cycles between yourself and your clients, then feel free to give me a shout. And thank you for taking the time to watch it.